Hi and welcome, I'm Andreas. This is the What I Learned video for my screw bit storage build. And one of the things that I learned was that I'm not really good at laying out a pattern of holes where I should keep distances and hole sizes all in my head, and I'm not really good at math and dividing spaces up and so on. So I ended up using my computer, a vector graphics tool, normal vector graphics program, and I just made a circle for every hole, and then I made a square for the distance that these holes should have. And I found it much easier to lay out these holes or these circles on the computer, and most of these programs have a function where you can just put the first and the last one of those elements on in place, and then you put all the other ones in between, and then you hit a button, and then the program divides all the spaces up evenly. And that ended up to be the easiest way of doing this. So if you're like me and you're not really good at keeping all these distances and measurements in your head and calculating properly, that might be a method for you. Another thing that I learned is that sometimes when you think you're in a quick build, that leads to stupid mistakes. For example, I just thought this would be a nice side project, even though I hadn't been in the workshop for a couple of weeks, so I should have concentrated more. And I ended up making this drawer in a pretty silly way. As you can see, the pattern is I have the board here, the front board is running across the front, then I have these two butt jointed here, and the back panel here is butt jointed in between these two. And later I realized, well, why was this so hard to glue up? Well, this is a pattern that you usually see in traditional drawers that are made with dovetails or half-blind dovetails. And then it makes sense to have the front panel run all the way off the along the front, because then the dovetails will come in here from the side, and then you put in the back here this way. But if you make butt joints with dowels like me, it was actually silly to do it this way, but I only realized it once I was done. So maybe that's just a reminder that drawers can be built and should be built differently depending on the technique you're using. The last thing that I learned is that I thought the belt sander was a great way of getting the sides and everything on these drawers flat. And I just put them on the flat surface of the belt sander and then wanted to sand them flat. Well, this sounded nice in theory. I hadn't done it before with a drawer, but what I ended up doing was, well, I didn't put it on at a right angle, and I ended up sanding off too much of the front so that it actually, well, the whole drawer was not at right angles anymore, and I had to cheat a little here with a little shim and in other places too to actually get it back to square. So I'm not going to do that sanding anymore, at least not on the belt sander, because I wasn't even aware that my belt sander was so strong with 120 grit belt on it that just a couple of seconds would be enough to sand off 3 millimeters in the wrong corner. So, well, as I said, it seemed a pretty simple little build, but being a bit out of practice for having not been in the workshop for a couple of weeks made it not so easy after all. Still, it ended up turning out quite alright. And the function is great, and the build is okay, and I'm really pleased to have it. I hope you enjoyed the build too, and I hope to see you back soon. Bye bye, take care.